Hi friends! Today we're going to be doing an activity called Reflecting Light. And there's some materials that you're going to need if you want to follow along. If you don't have these things at home, it's totally okay. I'm going to be demonstrating everything. The first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a flashlight that works. Make sure there's batteries in it. You're also going to need a small mirror. This can be a cosmetic mirror or a makeup mirror. Ask Mom before you go into her makeup drawer. You're also going to need some index cards. If you don't have index cards at home, cardboard, like from a cereal box, would work well. So the first cardboard I have is one that's got a slit that I've cut into. You can't just cut up. You have to cut like an actual tiny little piece out of it. The other piece of cardboard I have is a little bit bigger, and this has a comb attached to it. If you don't have this cardboard, it's okay. You could try holding a cone up. I've noticed that when you're holding the comb, though, that it's kind of tricky to hold the comb and the flashlight and everything else that we're doing. So having it on the back of a piece of cardboard or piece of paper helps a bit. On this side, you'll notice that I cut out like a half circle, and this allows the light to shine through the comb, and you'll see that in just a moment. I also have today two pieces of paper. I have got black and I've got white, and this is just going to allow us to see the path that light travels a little more easily. So I'm going to dim the lights so that we can get started, and I'm also going to turn my camera down. So you're going to see the tabletop that I'm working on, but you might not necessarily see me and my face while we're working. So. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is going to turn on my flashlight. I'm going to set aside the paper for right now. Wants to roll at me a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my cardboard with the comb in front of the flashlight. And you'll notice that when I do that, it might be hard to see on your camera, but there's little lines that happen on the table when I do that. If I put down a white piece of paper, I could see them a little bit better, not quite as well. And then if I take a black piece of paper, I can see the lines much more clearly and on the piece of paper. So I'm going to turn this way. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. And so in this activity, this phase, you're just experimenting. You're just playing around with light and the mirror. So you can just see that when I put the mirror down, whoops, this is why it's helpful to have extra hands. When I put the mirror down, I can see the light reflecting off of it and shining. And then I can also turn it around. But mainly what I'm noticing is that the lines on the paper are coming out away from the light because of the comb. The comb is breaking up the light, and it looks like it's coming out in straight lines. So we're just playing around with the flashlight. You can play around with the mirror and just see what you kind of notice. And then on your science journal, let me turn the lights back on. And turn my camera so you can see me more easily. On your science journal, on page 6, they just want you to write and draw what you noticed while experimenting with the flashlight. So what did you notice when the flashlight went through the comb? What did you notice on the white paper? What did you notice on the black paper? You don't have to do all of it, but the most important thing to point out is that light travels in a straight line. So you can draw lines coming out in between the comb, reflecting off a mirror. Whatever you want to draw here is fine. Make sure you draw and label anything that you noticed. If you'd like to pause the video at this time to fill in this information, you may do so. The next part of this activity takes place on pages 8 and 9. Pages 8 and 9 look like this, and we're going to be experimenting with the flashlight, the paper, the cardboard that has a slit in it, and also the mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my lights again and grab those materials. And I'm going to turn my camera so you can see my tabletop more clearly. So this time I'm going to be putting a piece of paper that's got the slit on it on the front of the flashlight. And actually, to hold it on a little bit better, I'm going to use a couple pieces of tape. And I'm going to tape that on to the flashlight so it doesn't come off. If you don't have tape at home, it's okay. All right, so I don't know if you can see very clearly on the video, but there is a clear line that's coming out of the flashlight and through the slits. There's a straight line that appears on the paper. I'm gonna see if I can get the camera a little closer so hopefully you can see that more clearly. So in this activity, in your science journal, they want you to first show what happens with the path of light when you have the mirror straight on from the flashlight. And what ends up happening, if you can see in the video here, is that the mirror just reflects it straight back to the flashlight. So the light goes through the slit, it hits the mirror, and goes straight back. So in your drawing on page 6, draw a picture of a flashlight with a light shining at the mirror and it bouncing straight back. You also have lines that you may write on. You may pause the video at this time if you'd like to fill in your science journal. The next section on page 9 is you are going to be figuring out what happens when we move the mirror at an angle. So this time I'm going to angle it towards the left, and the left is towards me. And if you can see on the paper, can you guys see it moving? On the paper, the mirror reflects the light back towards me when I angle the mirror towards the left, towards me. In your science journal, you need to draw a picture of a flashlight with light coming out of it, hitting the mirror, and it's still reflecting or bouncing off the mirror, but this time it's bouncing back towards me, another direction. So it actually moves on the paper. You guys see that right here? It's coming back at me. I'm tracing the line with my finger. A little harder to see on camera. There it is. At this time, you may pause the video and fill in page 9 for when we angle the mirror to the left. And finally, the last activity, we're going to angle the mirror to the right. So this time, I'm going to angle it away from me and go this way. And you can see that when I do that, when I turn it, the angle of the mirror, the light actually traces on the paper this way. So the light comes from the flashlight, bounces off of the mirror, and reflects onto the table away from me. On page 9 in your science journal, draw a picture of the flashlight and the light bouncing off the mirror and angling away. You may pause the video at this time. So friends, this is activity 1D in our science journal. After this video is over, you should have completed page 6 in our science journal. You may skip 7. On page 8 and 9, you have to have drawn pictures of the flashlight and the mirror and the direction that the light travels. The most important thing to come away from this activity is knowing that light travels in a straight line. It can bounce off of mirrors and be directed in a different direction, but it always travels in the straight line. I hope you enjoyed today's activity. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.